Morning, everybody. It is 8:10 a.m. It is March 21st. Market liked, I love what the FOMC Powell had to say, and the markets moved up accordingly, especially since we are in ultimate balance, like I talked about the previous days. Most traded price of the month and the week are equal, and that just set right up for FOMC. So big, huge breakout, all-time highs in the SPY. Just this market is just not slowing down, basically, not yet. So the momentum is strong, and that's what we have going on this morning. It's getting continuation this morning, so we're gapping up. No surprise, right? So without further ado, welcome to my channel. My name is Steven Gonzalez. I use the volume profile, market profile to find structure in the market along with gamma exposure level, supply and demand, anchor view ups, and the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. All helps me find structure in the market, and if all of those line up, it just makes a trade have confluence, and then that helps you put risk on. And that's how I look at the market. It just helps me look at it real quick. You can see who's in charge. Whereas volume, not volume like you like trading volume like shares, volume at price. So that's what I like to look at. So of course, if you're new here, subscribe, set an alert if you haven't already. All right. So also, if you like what you see, give me a thumbs up. And you can always follow me on X. That's at Gonzo719. All right. So let's get into it. Let's get into the watch list. All right. Let's get a little morning refresher here. All right. Now I know Bitcoin took a pullback the other day down to almost 60K. Well, that was bought up yesterday. Continuation today. Ether is up 4.86 today. Gold, my buddy Gold, finally came through. Been holding on for that for a while, and it's very nice to see it breaking out all-time highs. That continues up 2.27%. Monster. Silver's up 2.16%. Bitcoin's up 2.15%. Nasdaq's almost up another percent. Unbelievable. Russell's up 0.71. 30-year bonds being bought should send yields down. ES up 0.44. Dow's down up 0.27. The dollar is up also. Interesting, right? Dollar up, gold up. Interesting. Okay. 10-year yield is not reported, but that should go down. Crude, pulling back. So I might want to get into that pullback in crude since I didn't get a chance to get into what I've been talking about. That's okay. VIX down 1.76%. Moving on to the Mag 7 Plus. All right. AMD has pulled back yesterday. Had a nice pullback. Did not participate much in the rally yesterday, but guess what? That dip is getting bought now. Up 2.43%. Nvidia up 1.94%. Here we go. Tech, right? 1.82%. Snow. BA, 1.18%. Roblox. Tesla is raising prices, I think, on their Model Y, I want to say. That's good for Tesla. Okay. Meta up 1%. I mean, these are all 1%ers. Coin up 1%. Microsoft up 1%, right? The only laggard really here is Apple, and they have an antitrust lawsuit pending. That's why they're down almost 1%. Okay. Moving on. Two top sector stocks. Let's look at Qualcomm. Qualcomm is up 1%. No surprise there. Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley. Financials had quite a day yesterday. So a lot of those names broke out. Let's move on. Let's go on to a laggard. There is none. I mean, look, Exxon barely down, right? So we are going to look at my swing trade list and see who's the big winner. Micron. Okay, they reported a surprise profit in the fourth quarter. So they're ripping up 16.39%. I believe they also got a price upgrade as well. Western Digital's up 7.05%. Taiwan Semiconductors up 4%, and the rest continues to follow, right, with tech. Is there any laggard in this list? Yes, Five Below down 11.95%. Accenture, they are down 5.78%. Chewy down 3.86%. Okay, those are the losers. There's only a couple of them, not much, right? So let's go back to top sectors and we'll just look at the sectors. Okay, no surprise here. This is a monster. Semiconductors is up 2.81%. 2.81. Jeez, ridiculous. Followed by technology, which includes semis. So that's just a monster. Okay, really looking for continuation today. That's just so heavy in those semis, right? No laggard to speak of. So there's no laggard. Okay, that's gonna wrap up our futures watch list. Okay, now we're gonna get into some economic calendar. All right, let's do that. This morning we have initial jobless claims, Philly Fed. Okay. However, we also have today S&P Composite PMI. All right, that is going off. Three of these are going off at 9:45 a.m. I am not going to be in a trade anywhere close to that. And then at 10 a.m. you have existing home sales. Don't want to be in a trade, so I'm probably not going to do much until after like 10:05, 10:10 to let this settle, because that I don't want to get it whipped out of any position. So that's what's going on. In Fed Bar is speaking today at 12 p.m. Okay, that's what we have going on there. All right. Now, as far as some news, we can look at Micron stock soared 16% on the track for a record high after the chipmaker posted a surprise profit. Like I said, okay, Apple's in the antitrust lawsuit. Five Below stock fell 30% after discount retailer missed quarterly expectations. Just like I said, Accenture, it's an IT service. They provided cuts its fiscal 2024 revenue forecast as an uncertainty in economic prompts clients to cut spending. Right? Reddit set to do the IPO Thursday after the social media company priced its initial public offering at the top end of $31 to $34 range it had marketed earlier. Okay, that's ticker RDDT. Okay, what else here? LA Auto stock fell 8.7% after the China-based EV maker cut its first delivery outlook. All right, Guess stock rose 11% after the clothing retail announced a profit for its fourth quarter. Okay, that's what's going on with some of the news. One thing in the juice, UBS expects the Fed to deliver a 25 basis point rate cut in June. Okay. So, in Bank of England, looks like they did a bank rate 5, they paused as well. That's a headline there. That's what's going on in the markets. Yeah, that's really what's going on. That's probably what I wanted to cover here. All right. And then we can go into daily charts. You could do that. Let's do that. Let's go into the daily charts. Let me pull those up. We can see where we are. Okay. All right. So here's our little lovely channel. All right, that we've been in. We can zoom into this. So here's that channel that we always go down to. It's just up, down, up, down, up, down, up, right? So we pull back down to this 20-day simple moving average, and that's where the market found support at the bottom of this channel, right? And now we're rising back up. See these 4 daily candles that just got ripped from this move yesterday. Okay, now where could we possibly, we could actually Where could we possibly go? Well, if we move this cursor to today and the next day, right? Up there is about 524, the top of that channel. And guess what? We're at 523 right now. We're gapping up 523. So if we hit this channel again, okay, it's been resistance all these other times, okay? We have to see. I mean, I would say, you know, what's not broke, don't fix it, right? So we have to see. But that definitely is up there. 524, I would say be very cautious of longs up there. All right. Now let's look at the Qs. Qs have a channel as well. Okay, they started it here. There's a longer one here. Let's look at this longer one. This longer one here is not being honored, but there's a secondary one right here that has been. Okay. Now you can see the Qs yesterday haven't hurt all these shorts here because the Qs have been relatively weak. All right. So what did we do yesterday? So we came up to the previous week's highs last week. That's where we found resistance around 444. Okay. See the Qs came right down here, hit this trend line, bounced off. Let's get rid of this trend line. Bounced off, right? And the next area that I would say would be resistant would be 446, 447. Now, where are we now? We're over that. We're at 448 right now, pre-market. We're up here. We're all the way up here, and guess where that is? We're going right up to a previous week's highs up here. This little peak here. So we're about to hit all-time highs in the Qs. Does it push through that today, or does it find resistance there? Okay, it's also last month's highs. You can see by the white, that's last month's highs, all-time highs here. Okay, so the Qs, are already making the move up here. To me, that means that gapping up above this level, okay, if you hold that, I could expect, let's pull this down. Okay, let's move this here. What I could expect, okay, if we're here, you have some room here, possibly can go up to like 453. I'm not saying today. That's where you might get some resistance, okay, because if you're gapping up over these candles over here, you could get a little pullback and then a real push up, okay, to really get these guys, because yesterday, if you were short here, they weren't hurt yesterday. But now we're gapping up. Would make shorts very nervous here if you're gapping up over this level. You're right here. You're almost over that level. So that's what I see there. Okay. So that's the Qs. All right. We can move over to the 10-year yield in the bond market and the VIX and the dollar and see what's going on there. 10-year yield. Let's look at it together. Okay, that's dipped down. Okay, kind of having almost a double top here. That yields full. Now, if we go down to 4.0, expect the market to rise even further. Okay, so really have to keep an eye on this because the yields are rising when the market was rising. So usually they're not correlated. Just have to see if this falls apart. Boy, that should be something to see here, right? In the VIX. The VIX, do we have fear? Does this look like fear? All the way down at 12? No. This is 30 days out of fear. There's no fear right now. Okay? None at all. What do you have to fear, right? The dollar. Let's look at that dollar. Underneath the 50 to 200 day. Tried to break that. Couldn't. But now, dollar's making a little comeback this morning. But just you're in a web of these moving averages. It's just in this big range. You got 103.90 into 102 to see your support and resistance. So really have to see what happens with that dollar. A weaker dollar helps the markets, the commodities. Okay, stronger dollar does not. All right, that wraps up that. That was your triple-headed monster. Okay, now we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to the market profile, volume profile. The reason is how I base my trades. Okay, and let's look at that together. I'm gonna pull that up. We'll get right into the structure. Okay. Alrighty. So let's look at structure together. Of course, my marker is not working, so I have to reset it. Sorry for that. Alright, we're good. Alright, so let's see our profile, right? Now we have, this was our value area, right? Now look at that, we broke out. Okay, why we break out, right? Most traded price of the month and the week are right here. Set up beautifully for the FOMC. Look at all those shorts that got hurt. Boy, that's why the move was so big. Okay, and you have a big catalyst FOMC. All right, so we basically opened here. We did pull down, pull back here. Then we held. FOMC obviously did one of these, and then bam, close at the highs. Okay, so we're gapping up now. We're all the way up here. Okay, so you got a big spike. You can see where the spike really happened. You got single print here. That's where the market really took off and then closed at the highs. So this spike is your area to gauge the strength of the market, right? Well, you can't get any stronger than at the highs of the overnight, and you're gapping up. Okay, so that's just the market accepting higher prices, especially with semiconductors up almost 3%. It's ridiculous. It's crazy. Okay, we have a supply zone here. Not sure if that holds. Okay, now is this a trend continuation day? Possibly. Not sure, right? But we have to look at gap rules. All right, so here's our gap fill. All right, and how you gauge this, you have two things here. You have a spike and you have a gap rules. So, okay, so gap rule would be strongest would be up gap and go. That can go without me. A pullback into this demand, which would not even fill the gap, go. Even a pullback down to the gap, that is a buy, right? However, if we were to fall and fill the gap going back into the range, that would put sellers profit taking. That would probably put, buyers on their heels, and you would probably fall back a little bit. This wouldn't be an all-out sellout if we could actually accept up here, right? Because what's the market got to do now? The most traded price of the week is down here. The job for the market now is for price to develop value higher, and then value will follow price. If value cannot follow price, price moves back to value. Okay, that's how that works. Ready. So let's look at some nuance in this. Okay, you got a poor low here, which is a double bottom and a 30-minute profile. Okay, so if I show you that, I expand this range here. There's a double bottom here, right there. Two 30-minute bars right there. Okay, that's why I call that a poor low. Okay, so right there. Now, what else do you have there? It's a weak low. Why? Because we have the close and the overnight low is equal. Okay, so think about it. If you're long, let's say everybody's long from here. Long, right? Then from the close of yesterday, people are holding on to longs. Now you're waking up, overnight is all long, right? And you're at the top of the range. Also here, we're 100% net long as well. Okay, so think about that. You're holding it on. What happens if you see this market pull back and cut under here? You're going to take profits, okay? And we can make a nice little fallback. All right, so where's the midpoint? 552.64. That's a level to be cognizant of. That's 50% of this move from yesterday. Okay, I know I'm throwing a lot at you, but that's really what I'm looking at. Okay, so first of all, this is bullish. Okay, so let's put that on the table. This is bullish. And let's go over our scenarios. Okay, pretty easy today for the scenarios. So let's go over ES scenarios. So we know we're gapping up. We know we're following a big move up. Okay, what tends to happen sometimes, you have to look at this, when a big move happens. Okay, a lot of times the market digests the move. So this isn't a scenario, but this is just context. When you have a big move up like that, a lot of times the market can go up a little bit, and then what happens is it kind of digests it, and you just kind of balance the day, digesting the move of the market. It doesn't mean it has to always happen. Or you can get a trend continuation day. Let's say we pull back here and then we move up a little bit and you get a continuation day. So that's kind of what you're looking at. So if we get into scenarios here, very easy. All right, for me, this is trading. This is like, well, I'll give you a scenario of the market and a trading scenario. So for me, the market obviously could just push up. That trading wise is not very good for my style. So okay, that could definitely happen. All right, but two things here. You got two demand zones here stacked. Okay, so what I would like to see, okay, is a push up, come through the open, okay, and see what it does with these demand zones. Okay, if it does happen to fill that gap and we hold, you do a little dip down, that's fine. Lower high, that could be the move. Okay, up. How high, I don't know, but that could be the move. Okay, that's kind of what you want to see for a bull to defend the gap, defend the spike. Now, that's all I'd probably be interested in. Okay. Now, as far as the bear side, okay, you do have supply here that we have not broken yet. I would assume this probably does get broken. And now it's just the same move, but in a bearish mindset. Now, if we push up, fine, but we come through the open, okay, what I'm going to look for is, depending on how weak the market is, it's very hard to short it up here, but you could. I wouldn't recommend it because it's very fast. It's hard to set risk. However, I mean, you could use options, but now if this comes down here and breaks this demand, let's say it breaks that demand, then it breaks this demand, right? And I would suspect this is what you're going to probably see if you fill the gap. You're going to get some kind of support here, okay? Because if we break this demand and we start holding and holding and holding, well, that's that weak low I talked about, and a poor low, okay? So there's longs there from the close of yesterday, from the overnight. We're going to fall. We're most likely going to fall probably down to the midpoint, 52.64, and then see if this is defended. Okay, if it's not, guess what? We're going back. Going back where the move started. Now again, this is just a scenario. All right, it could end here. Okay, it could end here. And very well, like I said, door number 3 is always balance. We could do this, we could do this, come up here and just balance off, establishing value higher. Okay, that wraps up the ES. Okay, let's move on to the NASDAQ. For the NASDAQ, let's get that into the picture here. Okay, for this NASDAQ, we are also gapping up, very similar. So there's not a lot I got to talk about here. You know, let's look at the profile. Very, very, very thin, right, from the breakout. Then we had even bigger levels in the NASDAQ that I talked about. Most trader price of the month, the week, the day before, and the year was right here. Monster. Okay, monster. That's why that move was so big. Of course FOMC, but that's why the move was even bigger. All right. Even popped into a demand zone here yesterday and then just ripped. So there's your beginning of your spike right up here. Your midpoint is 183.9250. That's the 50% retracement of the move from yesterday. What are we doing now? We are gapping up. So again, you have a weak low here. That's your close from yesterday. That's your overnight low. And you have a little demand zone here. Okay? So, same thing. Alright? We're gapping up. We could gap and go. All the same rules I talked about. Failure to fill the gap, go. Fill the gap, go. Pull back into range. Then you put buyers on their heels. Okay? Now, same thing here. There's no different. So really quickly, it will just be almost like you're having a review of the ES scenario. Okay, so in the bullish case, which this should be, I'm going to look for this, a push up, come through the open. How do you react to this demand zone? Do you hold it and you go higher? How do you react to this demand? This is the weak low, okay? This could be a bear trap. Even if you dip, right, and that gets bought higher low, that can go higher. Okay, there probably be multiple tests of this gap fill. Okay, so you really have to be patient on both sides. What you want to do there to really let the market tell you, showing its hand, because price action can fool you, boy. All right, now. Same scenario up here. We can gap and go. We can come through the open. Hit this demand. Do we cut through? If we cut through it, do we cut through this demand and hold? I expect to get buying, like I said, at the gap fill. But this is a weak low, like I talked about in the ES. If we, boom, cut it, attempt up again, that probably could be some fate from the buyers here going down to the 50% mark. You could get support here. If you don't, guess what? We're probably going back down here. Now this is if everything falls apart. Again, door number 3. We could always come up here, come down, get bought, come up, and settle up in here, building out value, trying to move the most shorter price of the week higher. Okay, that would just stage it for another leg higher up for the move, right? Could this be the blow off top that people are talking about? Could be, don't know. But that's the scenarios we got to work with today. Okay. Now, if this market just stays strong, well, you probably got to buy a pullback. It's basic the bottom line. All right. So that's the scenarios today. Hope that made sense. If anybody's new, not sure if you are, I did make a short yesterday on that trade I took on Tuesday, which is a beautiful order flow trap trade that I talked about pre-market. I didn't know it was going to be an order flow trap, but I talked about that trade pre-market on Tuesday morning, and it worked out beautifully. So check out the short on my site. I know you don't get notified from shorts, but if you guys want me to go in depth on a regular video with that, I would in another video. Okay, so we got our plan today. Okay, we got our plan. Stay patient, right? Strength is what longs until it's not. So that weak low in the Nasdaq and the ES is very important. You need to see acceptance below that level in order to get any confidence of short. All right. Hopefully you guys liked it. Give me a thumbs up. And you can always follow me on X at Gonzo719. All right. So everybody, good luck. All right. Really be patient today. The market can just take off. Like, do that without me. Right. So stay green, and I'll see everybody tomorrow.